The Networking Magazine, proud to be different. Hello and welcome to the show. Today I'm joined by Peter Tilley and Alexander Staunton-Hill alongside Kemal Yildirim. They're here today to talk about their new movie, The Foreboding, Fractured. Hi guys, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having us on.
Hello, great to be here.
Yes, thank you. I can't wait to have a nice chat.
Thanks for joining me. I know that we had some technical issues on the first run, but you know what? It's take two. And now I'm getting a real feel for what it's like to put something together at short notice, which is what this movie was all about. Can I talk to, if I could, I'm going to talk to Kemal first. Kemal, you're the director. You've had wonderful success with your previous movies. And I'm wondering what attracted you after The Haunting of Lady Jane, which was your last project. What attracted you to this project?
The script, first and foremost, was really, really exciting. I'm a lover of ghost stories. I love anything to do with the supernatural, the uncanny. So once I read Alex's script, for me, it was a no-brainer. The script is just really dynamic in terms of the folklore that it creates, but it's also a real rich story about the coming of age of these young university students on the cusp of change. And it was just such a lovely story that I knew I wanted to tell it.
Yeah.
I also worked with Peter previously 2 years ago on a great film called Tales from the Great War. And we struck up a real great friendship on that shoot. And I knew that him being as the producer and one of the main actors, I knew that was also a no-brainer for me to come on board because I know his infinite talent and as well as Alexander's infinite talent.
Alex, if I may, you are the creator of the script. How did the idea come to you? Did you just jump out of bed one day and say, I've got it? Or, I mean, how did you get to arrive at the script?
Yeah, I mean, when Peter kind of came to me and said he wanted to make a horror film, we kind of went through a couple of odd ideas, and then he kind of, I think we're playing Fall Guys or something. I know we're playing some from the game, and he went, I've always wanted to make this sort of horror teen flick, and I kind of went in my head, kind of going, you know what? There's some really underrated ones, and I started thinking about those and sort of how you could bring them into sort of the modern age and what sort of things that worked back in the 80s that won't work now, how you can sort of change it. And then sort of going from that, I was like, you know what? I think I've got something. And about the span of, I don't know, probably a couple of game sessions in that one day, had a solid idea by the end of it. And then cut to some ungodly hours in the morning and sending off the first draft to Peter.
It was, I know that I spoke to Peter briefly and he was telling me about, how quickly this thing was put together. It was just an amazing journey. And I love that about this film. I really do. It's kind of spontaneous and it's really well put together. Peter, you are the producer, co-creator, and you actually are the leading role, if I'm right. Is that right?
Yeah, one of the leading roles. Yeah.
One of the leading roles, yeah. Because I know Alex jumped in and he was actually in the movie himself, right?
Yeah, I mean, when I went to Alex saying that I wanted him to write a script for a short horror film, I wanted him to be a character within the film as well, because I wanted myself and Alex were involved with another project, but we didn't get the opportunity to actually act alongside each other. And because Alex is such a good friend of mine, I wanted also an opportunity, as well as creating a short horror film, an opportunity to act alongside Alex.
Right. Kemal, you have some news about the film festival, and I'd love you to share it with your audience because it's big news for today and for your movie. Over to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a massive honour for us to announce that we've just literally announced today that we're on the Horror on Sea official selection, which is an incredible honour because the Horror on Sea is known as the Riviera of horror in the UK. It's just an incredible independent film festival that supports independent artists like us. and it allows us to showcase our work to packed audiences. And it's just getting busier and busier, that festival. So for us, it's just such an honor to be involved in that lineup. There's some amazing films in that lineup.
Yeah. And all, I mean, the three of you are kind of like a dream team now, aren't you? I mean, I've been reading on Instagram today, just literally an hour ago, and people are saying, when is the sequel? What are you guys doing? I mean, who's going to come forward and say what's going to happen? I mean, Alex, maybe perhaps you could come forward and say that. Have you got plans for a sequel? Are you, in fact, the dream team? And will there be more coming from the three of you?
I can wholeheartedly say we are a dream team. I mean, to be fair, everyone that we had on set was absolutely fantastic. We wouldn't be able to make it without them. I mean, oh God, is there a sequel? I mean, I kind of like said it sort of in jest. However, we have had a couple of conversations about where we could go with this. And those conversations are still kind of going on. But yeah, there's something that we're gonna keep a bit close to our chest until we kind of see what reactions are for this current film.
Sure. And
watch this space.
Yeah, I'm watching. Peter, where can people get hold of your movie now that it's done the circuit? Where can people, view it?
Yeah, so we'll be doing the festival run to begin with. Obviously, the worldwide premiere for Foreboding will be at the Currency Film Festival in January. We've been submitting it into some other festivals as well, some of them within the UK, and potentially plans to get it abroad as well. But yeah, we might have other plans for it in due course after that. See how it goes, I suppose.
Kemal, I wanted to ask you this question, and I've been thinking about it all day, and it's about the indie scene, because it seems to be growing in strength, and lots of problems, as you know, in the States with the strikes and things that are going on with the introduction of AI. People are worried about their jobs, that sort of thing. The indie market has grown. Is it the future, do you think? Do you think the bureaucracy has been removed by default? And, movie makers, directors, producers and actors like the three of you are able to produce without any hindrance. No bureaucracy, in effect.
Yeah, I mean, it's a brilliant question and a brilliant point you raised. But first of all, I want to say that from the three of us, that we support any of the movements that our fellow creatives are doing over the pond or here, because obviously fair rights for all is exactly what we're all fighting for. But at the same time, the indie scene has always been a scene that has been a fundamental backbone of the film industry. So without the indie scene, the actual industry itself would probably implode. That's how important the indie film scene is. So because majority of the films that are coming out in the mainstream, big budgeted movies, they're not really enough to prop up the whole of the film industry. It's artists like us that are kind of developing talent and developing content that keeps pushing this content into the market. So it's really, really important. And the indie scene is massively blowing up, especially in the UK at the moment. There's a lot of really fantastic filmmakers out making some fantastic work. And there's a nice little synergy where we're all coming together to kind of support each other, which is fantastic. That's how it should be. As an industry, we should all support one another. Yeah. And people like myself who have got, a few years, in the industry, quite a few years in the industry, should be supporting the fellow new up and coming talent like Peter and Alexander. Because they're both, working with these two guys has been just phenomenal, and they are the future of the film industry. And if that is the case, then we've got a good future.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Yeah. Alexander, if I can ask you, I'm calling you Alexander now, aren't I?
You can call me whatever you want, man.
Yeah. Oh, well, okay. Well, Alexander, what about your take on creativity? Because obviously, writing about something and producing it or seeing it come into fruition is a separate entity. What did it ever cross your mind to think, well, I've got a great story here, but you know what? It's going to be so hard to bring it to market. Did it ever stop you, the kind of bureaucratic thing in the background? Did it stop you from, did it put a thought in your head like, leave it, I'm not going to bother with this? Or what was the motivation for you to just say, right, I'm going to do this?
Yeah, I mean, very good question. But when it kind of came to the more creative side of it and whether everything that was going on in the background should sort of stop it, because it's so tied in with indie and you have all this mainstream media kind of getting pushed back. It was as much as it was pushing the entertainment industry into making it a better place to work, it was also kind of stopping those lower artists from being able to push it forward. So when the indie scene kind of thrives, it's in those moments of we need to get something out there to make sure that entertainment isn't completely written off. And to be sort of a part of that to make sure that artists can keep doing what they do was quite important. There were a couple of times, sort of like the final 2 weeks or so, when it was really, really starting to pick up. I was a bit more like, oh, is this sort of the right thing to do? Because, you know, if you support a movement, usually you're right there with it. But at the same time, it's that whole thing of, you know, we have a whole creative team on board now. And if one person goes, can't do it now, that ruins the whole thing. And I would be able to have my conscience. There's no way.
There's obviously synergy between all three of you, because otherwise there's no way you would have met the deadlines. I think Peter was telling me a little bit about how quickly this movie was put together. Peter, tell me about some of the problems that you encountered on set, just for the audience to relate to how fast and how difficult the challenges were in putting a movie together of this type.
Yeah, I mean, where do I start?
That bad, was it?
Yeah, we certainly encountered, we encountered a lot of problems on that set. Everything was just thrown away. We shot this film sort of the end of July, beginning of August, and we was met with some really tough weather conditions, you know, absolutely pouring down with torrential rain in the middle of the night as well. We had to leave scenes in the middle of a farm site in Sussex. It was quite an experience. Not having too much layers of clothing on as well. Freezing cold. So that was that. And the generator decided to just stop working on the first night when we needed essential lighting for scenes. So that was that as well. But do you know what? Saying that, we pushed through it as a team and we all really mucked in to get this done. We knew we had a good project on our hands that we wanted to get done, and we did. We
absolutely love that. Yeah, I love that. It's nice to have a good, positive result and a nice story for a change when the news is covered in such bad stories. So it's really nice. Let me ask you this about, you know, the actual hiring of staff and getting people involved, because I know the unsung heroes of this movie were Annabella, or maybe they are the sung heroes, but Annabella Rich, Nico Turner, Max Russell, and Miles McAllister. I mean, these are the guys that work with you. They're very much part of your team. Could you tell me what their roles were, what they did behind the scenes to bring this movie, you know, to complement your side of things?
Yeah, I mean, I'll jump in there if that's all right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't put that to anyone.
Yeah. I mean, Annabella Rich came in as our makeup artist, and she did a fantastic job. Especially considering we basically asked her about a week beforehand because the person who was going to work on it previously wasn't available.
Right.
And yeah, Bella just swooped in and you know, saved the day on that front. When it came to
lucky you found her.
Oh yeah, like I mean, it was quite good because myself, Kemal, and Peter, we've both worked with we've all worked with Bella to some degree. So there was already a relationship there, which is good. When it came to Nico Turner, I met on another project, and yeah, again, it was a case of we worked really well together. So I popped her a text message and was like, "Hey, I'm working on this film. Would you mind sort of being a PA for me?" And she basically just went, yep, essentially.
Brilliant. That's brilliant, because I mean, these unsung heroes behind the scenes are as important, I think, with the audience as well, to try and see, like, you couldn't have done it without these guys. And, I want to know more about what they did. What about, is it Kathryn Oliver?
Yeah. So she plays Abigail, and on one of the nights where our generator just really packed it in, they had to build a massive campfire, and luckily it's sort of Eve, who is, I think the term is a brownie. Is that the term? I'm hoping that is the term.
That's correct.
Thank God.
Yeah, that's correct.
But
Dad gives approval.
Thanks, Dad. I appreciate it.
Dop.
But yeah, so she's sort of a brownie, and she just lit this massive campfire.